Hello everybody, Glass Half Dead here, and today I want to talk to you about the new, so look, there's the LCD and Star Striders in the Gallopbox that have been given a whole bunch, an article from Kill Team. There was also the Kroot yesterday and the Imperial Navy before that, but the truth is, and we all know it now, this is all going to go up tomorrow where I have my full Man Reads books, and then later in the week I also have full-on team breakdowns. There's no point in me reading this to you anymore. Let's drop the farce. You don't need me to read this to you. I will say Warcom has actually done a pretty good job, for those that don't have the rules, of knowing pretty much everything. Like, there's a lot here. They're only missing out small things, and I think in the grand scheme of things, missing out small details is pretty okay. They have genuinely, if you've been paying attention, given you 90% of the details for Into the Dark and all of the teams. Like, very genuinely, you're only missing a few things. So with that said, let's talk about the interesting thing, the command roster. Now this is an interesting one. This is Kill Team list building. Or is it? And the reason I say or is it is because obviously there has to be a point to this video. I can't just show you the command roster. We have to see if it's any good. Now the whole point of Kill Team, right, is it's very easy to build a list. So I immediately want to say, as someone that has been playing Kill Team for a year, we don't need this. Why are we being given a list builder for a game that has like 2 options per team, right? Like, do you want to take the Melter or do you want to take the Flamer? That's it. Decide. There's not really much else to do. When you're looking at the compendium, there's arguably even less. It's which of the 2 kill teams do you want to take? Marines, which of the 1 kill team do you want to take? And equipment, you almost don't want on a roster because you change it every single time. So equipment's not really something you care about. So what are we doing with this command roster for Kill Team? Well, let's dive into it just a little bit, because actually there are, I think, good things that can come from a list builder. I think it's not fair to say that just because something isn't as complex to build a list for as 40k or War Machine or Marvel Crisis Protocol or anything like that, that it doesn't need a list builder. You know what? Having a roster is useful. Having that 20-man roster, especially going into the Dark, where we're presumably going to start seeing tournaments that are both Into the Dark and Octarius kill zones, so we're going to want to have a little bit of flex in our lists now. Fingers crossed, I hope. I obviously don't know anything, or at least I don't know anything until tomorrow at 10 AM. Am I right? Presumably that's going to be something we're going to want. However, are we going to get it in this? Kind of. So I think that that's totally fine. If you want to have, and especially with the recent Battle Scribe issues, right? With the creator coming out and just like, a little bit shady. It's been known for a while, for anyone that's paid attention to Battle Scribe, how the creator treats Battle Scribe as a cash cow. And yeah, hey, fair enough, he built something, people liked it. Why not live off, why not get that passive income? Am I right? Well, good for him. That came to an end. He had to update his credit cards, he had to make a big announcement, blah, blah, blah. And then the people that actually keep the app updated came along and said, don't do this. Like, this is not a good thing. So I'm probably on their side because they're the ones that... Let's move on. We're not talking about Battlescribe. We're talking about the Kill Team command roster. I apologize. So, we kind of do want a roster builder. And this gives us that. Or does it, is the question. So for most things, yes, it does. And I think that actually this comes out pretty well. There you go. However, there are a few things that this does not do. And let me tell you what those are. So if you're doing compendium, there's no issues here. This is going to be really good for you. Go ahead, play around. There are some things it does not do. Now, when you are building, let's not look at Warp Coven yet. Let's look at the Legionary. So when you're building a Legionary, as you may be aware, there are certain issues with the roster. You cannot have certain marks of chaos on the same roster, not even in the same list. So this isn't a list builder issue. This is a roster builder issue. The thing's called command roster. However, you're not allowed to have, a mixture of, I can't actually remember what they are, but Nurgle and Khorne. You can't have both of those on the list, right? Except in here, well, okay, this is a bad one because you can, in a sense, because there's actually no way to identify your legionaries as having their mark of chaos. Now, you can give them equipment, so I thought, okay, you know what? Fair enough. Maybe it's in the weapons. Nope, you just got the 2 weapon options. Fair enough. Maybe it's in the equipment. Look through it. Nope, I'm not seeing any mark of X there. Okay. Am I missing it? No, I'm not. Maybe it's in the spec ops. It's not. Now, you can put a note on. I do want to, you can put a note. You could, nah, but that's not really what you want, because putting a note there still means that you have to be the one that builds the list that is legal or not legal. And the whole point of a list builder is to help new players build a legal list. Suddenly, when I'm playing 40k, I genuinely use Battlescribe or whatever to help me build a legal list. Not just in coming to a points value, but also in making sure that I have the correct operatives on them. Sorry, units. I'm talking about 40k there. But I would like to have the same help in Kill Team, in this command roster. So, you cannot put on abilities, let's call them that. You cannot apply your abilities to your models before you put them on the roster, which means it's not stopping you from putting an illegal list together. Certainly, does it come from the ad operatives? No, it does not. Okay. And that's actually, for me, that would have been a genuine help. Like, going into building a command roster for Legionary, I would have quite liked to know that I could put, my 3 leaders on there, 1 unaligned, 1 Nurgle, 1 Slaanesh, whatever. I can't remember what the actual rule there is. I think you can have Khorne and Tzeentch, or you can have Nurgle and Slaanesh. But I can't add that. And so for me, at my skill level, at my roster building level, it doesn't work for me. Fine. But you know what? Actually, for the Legionary, that's okay. I can handle that not being a thing. Not that big of a deal. Whatevs. So let's go a step deeper. Let's look at the Warp Coven. Now, the Warp Coven, for those of you that don't know, you are bound to your roster to have, you can only have the same boon once per sorcerer on your roster. You can never double up. I suddenly feel like I'm going to say the wrong thing. Long story short, it's exactly the same issue, because these boons and buffs of Tzeentch or whatever tend to be, I would consider to be abilities that you apply to your model when you put it on the roster. You cannot do that. So, /shrug. You can. Now, this is, okay, I do want to give them credit. Credit where credit's due is not just a term for lawyers. So, if you want to put things, so you can take things from your roster. I've put our 3 things here, and I put them into the Kill Team, and it works. And there are, there are restrictions to, for example, you can only take a Warp Flame pistol once. So you see here at the bottom, this guy has a Warp Flame pistol. If we go back and we put in another sorcerer and we give him a Warp Flame pistol and we add it to the Kill Team, we go over to the Kill Team. Oh, this has not worked. So, minor issue. Maximum of 3 sorcerer operatives. So it has tagged that. That's great. So let's remove one of them. Let's remove the force save cost. Right. So we now have 2 Warp Flame pistols, but you're only allowed to have 1. That's an issue. Let's move on. Let's take a look at, not the Corsairs. I want to look at the Wormblades, because of course the Wormblades do actually have quite a few different checks that they need to pass. There are no abilities that you need to know about for the Wormblade that limit your roster. So you're not going to get the same issue where it's just a lack of information, which I really would like. I want to know and build a correct roster for my Tzeentch boons and buffs. Can't be done. Fine. Could be added, hopefully. Shouldn't be too difficult. Just need another field. You have weapons and then you have abilities for those that need them to be applied. However, that have selectable abilities like the Marks of Chaos or buffs of Tzeentch, boons of Tzeentch. So we then get to the Wormblade kill team. Now, for those of you unaware, you can take several gunners, several heavy gunners. You can't double up on those weapons. So you can't take 2 flamers, you can't take 2 webbers, or you can take 1 of each. Cool, cool, cool. You can also only take 2 locusts, but also this is one of the teams where a cult agent takes up multiple slots. So how is it going to interact with that? Remarkably, I've already built my list, and it works. I know, right? So I've built here a legal list. I haven't done anything fancy. So we've just got the leader, we've got 2 agents, we've got 2 different gunners, we've got 2 different heavy gunners, and then we just have a bunch of brood adepts. Okay, this is a legal list. So let's go back to the roster. Let us add a single, just for interest, brood adept. Add to kill team. What does this give us? We now have a not valid. Must include 14 selections. Kenomorph, Locust, and Sanctus Oculus count as 2 selections. Cool. So we know what we did there because obviously we did it deliberately. We will take away the brood adept. There you go. That's great. That is genuinely helpful for new players, and I think that's really good. Now let's try something else. Let's try adding the Sanctus Sniper. Can we do that? Add to kill team. What's it going to do? So we now have 2 checks flagged up. Firstly, we have too many selections. Also, we have 3 cult agents where we're only allowed 2. So what if we remove the Kenomorph? Something we would never do in a game, obviously, but this is hypothetical. Bam. Okay, that's fine. Not an issue. So they've clearly done the right thing with some of these things, right? But because they haven't put on abilities, which is something that I would genuinely find helpful, let's try one more. So this is now a legal team. Let's try adding a second grenade launcher. So we've removed the flamer. Okay, we've got 1 grenade launcher. What if we go ahead and add another grenade launcher? Is it going to flag that up? Add to kill team. Maximum of 1 Nephi gunner equipped with gunbutt grenade launcher. Great. So they've done a really good job for the majority of the command roster. Certainly, as I said, it works fine for compendium teams, which is really good. That means beginners can jump on here on the official Warcom site, do what they need to do, hit export, put in your stuff. Shall we see what it looks like? Export the roster. What are we going to get? Oh, a PDF. Let's have a look. Oh, look at that. There you go. That's a mildly annoying bump up when they add an additional number there, but fine, it is what it is. Okay, but there you go. That is a roster. This is useful. This is genuinely helpful. I approve. Shall we see what the data slates look like? Yes, let's. That's the point of the video. Okay, well that hasn't helped us at all, has it? No. Shall we look at the data cards? That's what I actually meant to say. Data cards. Okay, alright, so they meant the narrative data cards. I apologize. I thought they were going to give us, actual data cards that we could use of just the stats of the units. Because let's be clear, that's the other issue with this. It's not giving you any rules. It's not telling you any stats. It's just a list builder. And beyond that, it fails in a few places when it comes to certain restrictions that need to be on there. So it's a list. It's a list builder. It's a roster builder, but because there is no way to apply selectable abilities that are then limited on the roster, you can't rely on it 100%. It also doesn't provide any of the statistics for you to be able to, for your data card, for you to be able to run this properly. There you go. So, all in all, seems like a pretty standard GW product, or digital product. They kind of, they obviously sat down and thought, you know what, we need to do this. This is a good thing, even though kill team is something where we say you don't need to list build, essentially. Well, sorry, they don't say that. The community says that. But like, we give them a list builder, and they haven't quite completed the product. I understand that the product is free, but that kind of doesn't matter if it doesn't work. Similar to their app. like their 40k list building app. Something that I got really into, and actually for a while preferred over Battlescribe until I dug a little bit deeper. It's like they're close, you know, they're trying and they're close, but they're not there, and it's actually kind of frustrating, to be honest with you. Same thing here. I think this is good for certain people, and if you know what you're doing, you can make this work for you. Personally, when I'm throwing together a list, I like to do it a little bit trial and error. You know, I'll go through my Warp Coven and I'll say, oh, sorry, there was one more thing. It also doesn't track in any way, shape or form the legality of equipment placements, which is kind of like, okay, who cares, right? So we take this guy, we add him to the kill team, we go to the kill team, add equipment, but then there's no restrictions. All they need to do is flag up. So what they've done is they've added equipment based on your faction keyword, and you can put anything on there. Shall we try adding just 2 plasma grenades? Sorry, wrong one. Plasma grenade, okay. It doesn't care, even though we can't do that anymore. But that's fine. Maybe it doesn't have the latest update. So instead we will try the Pathfinder cloak, which, in case you don't know, is something that only the Pathfinder can equip. No, that's fine. Shall we also add the Lodestar helm, something only the Psycho can equip? Okay. You get the point. This is kind of okay because you don't need to assign equipment on a roster or on a list. Sorry, on the list you do, because the list goes into like your actual game that you're playing, right? It's the roster where you don't assign it. I assume that's the point of the list builder. Anyway, there you go. A few issues that really just needed just a little bit more effort put in regards to like ticking a few boxes about who can take what, and adding one more field to assign selectable traits, ability traits, that it didn't quite do. All in all, fine. That's my review of the Kill Team Command roster. Thank you. If you made it this far, I don't know how I did 18 minutes on this. I apologize. This should have been an 8-minute video. Hey, all the good stuff coming out tomorrow. Into the Dark, an annual Man Reads books, plus a general Into the Dark overview review. On Saturday, Sunday, I'm doing a hobby video, how to paint all of my Into the Dark terrain in that funky night scheme, plus a live stream on YouTube, which I'm hoping to make it a little bit of a launch party. Going to get as many people involved as I can, and then throughout the week there's going to be Elicidian Starstriders, Gelapox, Imperial Navy Breachers, and Kroot faction breakdowns. There's also going to be a narrative kind of rules added breakdown. There's other stuff too that I'm blanking on, but yeah, lots of stuff. I've done 10 videos and they're releasing over the next week. I hope you enjoy. Yeah. Anyway guys, this has been Glass Update. I hope you've had a good day and continue to have a good day. See you tomorrow, pre-recorded, and then see you Sunday at 6 PM, hopefully, GMT, obviously, for live interaction and hype for Into the Dark.